Welcome to the show, everybody. Joseph Robert Camo, the fantasy football counselor. Exciting episode. We're going to be having exciting episodes all week this week. Make sure you guys are subscribed. We're talking top 10 wide receivers for fantasy football 2021 pre-NFL draft. Now, I wanted to kind of just lay out the kind of the foundation before the NFL draft, because once the NFL draft happens, we get to see how the depth charts form. For example, I keep going back to this guy, but Justin Jefferson last year, right? I had him in my 16-round draft solution. I recommended him in about the 8th or 9th round, right? As soon as I saw him fall into place on the team, on the Vikings, I saw that there was 150 freed up targets with Diggs there. There was a void there, and I was able to place him and rank him properly. Now, as you guys know, I don't really live and breathe by rankings. Everything I do is done with the 16-round draft solution, right? That is how you're going to win your leagues, because it doesn't really matter how the consensus, the sheep rankings fall out. That's kind of just gives you an idea of how the average draft position is going to be for your actual draft, right? It's more of a guideline. You shouldn't be drafting based on ADP. It's not really how you're going to win, right? But there is players you may want to select at a certain ADP before they come off that you really like, and that's what 16-round solution is all about, where I tell you all the optimal players to draft in each round and when the best time to get them before someone else snipes them away from you in the fantasy football draft, okay? So top 10 wide receivers right now, kind of an initial layout. This is not sticking, right? This is just an idea, having some fun, talking about this and getting a feel for the landscape for fantasy football 2021 at the wide receiver position. Again, make sure you guys are subscribed, guys, and leave a thumbs up and let me know what you guys think of the list. Anyone I missed, anyone else I should add, but I'm going to dive into explanations on why these guys are there. And again, this is not concrete. 16 rounds is where it's concrete. So make sure you guys get 16 rounds at thefantasyfootballcounselor.com if you're listening in the car, or just Google 16-round draft solution, or link here below. Make sure you guys get it, pre-order it now. You will be very happy. The first release of 16 rounds, when I release the first video on all the optimal players to draft, that's going to be about a week after the NFL draft. That's when everything gets laid out, okay? So let's dive into this. Top 10 wide receivers for fantasy football 2021. I'm excited, guys. I'm excited about the season. Football will be here before we know it. This is literally the last calm before the storm. So let's dive in. Let's have some fun. Now, going through this list, it's very difficult. I'm looking at the consensus rankings, the consensus, and I don't like their list. I just, you know me, I don't really like the list. And we're going to work our way 10 down to 1, right? I'll give you my number 1 pick. And I'll tell you right now, it's not Devante Adams. Okay? And everybody has Devante Adams last year because he finished this year because of last year. He finished number 1, right? They're copying and pasting. I want to remind you again as I go through this list, because it's important. It's not just so much the list. It's about the information I'm providing as I'm giving the list. So don't even worry about the way these guys are ranked. Worry about the information that's being processed, because last year, Michael Thomas, this is a perfect example. Everybody said Michael Thomas. I said, stay away. He's coming off this pinnacle year. It's a Cinderella year. It's going to change. Everyone said Michael Thomas, top 5 picks, and he was drafted and he busted. Everyone that invested a top 5 pick, top 6, 7, wherever you drafted him, it was pretty much a top 5 picks. Busted, right? And again, it happens with wide receiver. It's very, very, very rare, very unlikely that a receiver who had a pinnacle year will finish on top again next year. It won't happen like that. So there's no point in investing such an early pick in Devante Adams when he could be loading up on a running back, okay? So that's it. So let's start off. Number 10 here, I'm going to go with Justin Jefferson. Now, here's the deal. Justin Jefferson is actually going to be ranked higher. He's actually ranked 9th on the consensus. He's going to be coming off the board very early. Now, if I can get him for a value, I probably will. But here's what bothers me, right? I'm not going to invest an inflated price on Jefferson now. I'm just not going to do it. Why? Because I found him last year as a value play. I got him. I loaded up on my running backs and still managed to get Justin Jefferson for pretty much free in the 8th round. So why would I invest a 2nd, 3rd round pick? I don't know where his ADP is going to be. We don't know yet exactly. We got to wait till after the draft as mock drafts start rolling out and we get a full integration of how things fall into place. But Justin Jefferson, again, could finish top 10, but we still don't know. Now, the nice thing about him, again, 16 in targets. I'd like to see that go up. It just did, we need more volume there. We need more volume. And I don't know if I'm going to see that with Thielen there, and they're kind of a run-first team in a sense with Dalvin Cook, him putting up top numbers. Am I going to invest in Jefferson? Probably not, because I think his ADP is going to be high, but he's worthy of a top 10 contention. Now, understand, guys, Thielen was technically the wide receiver 1 going into that season. There is no reason to discount the fact that Thielen could finish ahead of Jefferson. This is something you got to account for. We saw this, and as I get through this list, you're going to understand my thought process. We saw this last year with Godwin, right? Godwin 2019 had a good year. In 2020, people had him ranked ahead of Mike Evans. Mike Evans ended up finishing ahead of Godwin last year. I think Evans finished 11th. Godwin Godwin well below that. And again, Brady spreads the ball. So people just kept drafting Godwin in the second round, and that was a huge mistake. So again, Jefferson, you're going to have to pay more, and I think he's more of a risk this year, although I still think a huge ceiling is there. Worthy of a top 10 mention here, but I got to see where his ADP falls for me to trust him, okay? So understand the thought process, the mythology here as I work through this. Coming at number 9. Now, this guy is currently sitting on, he is pretty low on the consensus. I think he's like 20th the way that he's sitting right now. I'm going to pull this up. The guy I'm talking about here is Deontay Johnson, who's currently sitting 20th on the consensus rankings. I currently got him in the top 10. I'll tell you why. He was number 6 in targets last year, which is beautiful. And I don't think he's really capped out on how many targets he can get. I still think there's more targets to be had. The only knock to Deontay Johnson, other than the fact that he was dropping balls, which he improved later in the end of the season, is the fact that Claypool's there and Juju. Now, Juju's going to probably play in the slot. He's going to get his share of volume, but Big Ben has showed us that Deontay is his primary target. So I definitely think that the ceiling is there, the volume is there. And the nice thing is about Big Ben is that he throws the ball more than pretty much any other quarterback in the NFL. And he does that consistently every single year. Now, when I pull up the attempts, Big Ben was actually 3rd last year with 608 attempts, similarly to Matt Ryan with 626, which we're going to get to in a second because I think Matt Ryan's going to have a bounce back year. I'll explain that. And here's we'll get to that in a second. So Deontay Johnson, I think, could easily crack the top 10, but again, you don't have to pay that early ADP price that you get him for value, which is a really sweet deal. I think this year I'll be looking to target him as for value this year because again, he's sitting 20th on the consensus ranking. So I got him at number 9 right now. Number 8, I got DK Metcalf. Now DK Metcalf obviously sitting higher on the consensus rankings. They've re-signed Lockett for a huge deal there. There was talk about Russell Wilson possibly getting Antonio Brown, wanting Antonio Brown actually. That kind of scares me because now you're talking about a possible void there or, another option that could be plugged in there according to what Russell Wilson wants. It also scares me the fact that I don't think Russell Wilson believes. I'm all about action, right? Like you could say, yeah, DK's the one we're there. And I understand talent is there. He's currently ranked 5 on the consensus rankings. I got him here at 8. But what scares me again is what Russell Wilson is talking about. It's about action. He's speaking the words out. I want Antonio Brown. And that kind of tells me, well, that kind of scares me. Metcalf, maybe they drafted another top ace wide receiver, rookie coming in, right? More volume going that way. We don't know until the draft happens, until the chips finally fall and we kind of see where the season starts. Metcalf's going to be a question mark. Another thing that bothers me is 13 in targets. I'd like to see more targets there, right? Again, similar to Jefferson, who's 16 in targets, we want to see more volume from these guys. And I don't know if we're going to get it. So DK Metcalf last year finished 7th in PPR. He had, 10 touchdowns, 1,303 yards, which is good. 129 targets. Again, I need to see that up to 145 and up. The target isn't going to be there. What's going to really keep him afloat is those touchdowns, which did last year, which was 10. Is he going to maintain the top touchdown ratio? I don't know. We need to see a lot of touchdowns, so I got him at 8. Coming at number 7 here, this is not a popular opinion, and I understand it, but this guy is Tyreek Hill. Now, Tyreek Hill currently sitting number 2 on the consensus rankings. Now, fact of the matter is, I will probably not be drafting anyone like Devante Adams, Stefan Dix, and Tyreek Hill because their ADP is going to be too high. You're going to have to invest a first-round pick, late first-round pick, probably. Not going to do it. Now, I got him sitting here at 7. I'm not really a Tyreek Hill fan. This guy is all based on, a lot of his volume is on touchdowns. He had 15 touchdowns last year. Understand you have Pat Mahomes, but you also have Kelsey there. You've got other options as well. Mecole Hardman now starting to step up. They do have other options. They got Clyde Edwards-Helaire catch the ball in the backfield. Tyreek Hill, another thing, he doesn't really finish seasons. He always ends up missing 1 or 2 games. Obviously due for an injury, but we can't factor that in super. He's been doing good. We can't really knock him on injuries. But again, 135 targets. That's not really appealing to me when I look at it. That makes him 9th in targets last year. I want to see more volume out of a guy that I'm going to be investing a first-round pick on. Very, very touchdown dependent. Again, there's just too many targets. They spread the ball around. Yes, they are a throw-first team. But again, Tyreek Hill is just going to be too rich for my blood. I got him 7th, anticipating a bit of a slight decline coming up this season, okay? Coming at number 6 here, this is an unpopular opinion, but I understand. And I probably won't be drafting him similar because I don't really trust that offense. Currently sitting number 6 on the consensus rankings. I got him at 6 right here, right now. The guy I'm talking about is Michael Thomas. Now, I'm doing this predicated based on talent and based on the fact that there is no other wide receiver there that's going to get the volume. Now, whoever throws the ball, whether it be Winston, whether it be Hill, I don't really trust Hill, but the fact of the matter is somebody's got to catch the ball. That's the fact of the matter. And I'm not going to be, really high on Alvin Kamara this year, predicated on the fact, again, that Breeze is gone. I think he was a huge factor of Alvin Kamara's success. So if I'm going to be down on Kamara, I got to be up on Michael Thomas a little bit. So I think Michael Thomas is going to get the volume. I think he's going to be the guy. I think it's just based on volume and talent here more than who's throwing the ball in the situation. Will I invest in him? Probably not. Again, a guy that's going to have an ADP. I wait on wide receiver, and you should be too, going with that robust RB strategy. Again, I do like Michael Thomas based on talent and volume, but that's about it. So I have to put him in the top 10 predicated and based on those reasons. Coming at number 5, again, another unpopular opinion because currently Calvin Ridley sitting at 7. I got Julio Jones sitting here at 5. Calvin Ridley, as you notice, is not in my top 10 list and won't be in my top 10 list, although could finish easily in the top 10. Now, going back to my Godwin analogy. Now, again, I could be wrong, but I was right. I was right about Odell 4 years in a row saying he's going to bust. Calvin Ridley is talented. There's no doubt about it. Understand that he is talented. He is probably the future of the Atlanta Falcons, who are looking to draft probably a young quarterback and look to replace Matt Ryan. I still think Matt Ryan plays this year. I think he plays for one, maybe 2 more years. He's still got juice in the tank. They had a bad year last year. So Calvin Ridley, I still think, is very talented. Don't get me wrong. But the fact that he did really well last year was really based on the fact that Julio Jones sat a lot with a nagging hamstring injury that lingered throughout the season. Julio Jones is the wide receiver one, arguably the best, if not the best receiver in the NFL, and arguably one of the best, if not the best wide receivers of all time. Top 5, at least. You got to put him in that conversation. The talent is there. And he is still young. He's not really that old. Listen, the fact is he finished number 3 in 2019, number 4 in 2018, number 7 in 2017 amongst wide receivers every single year. Always a top 10 finisher, predicated the fact that he's healthy. Nothing really is changing based on the quarterback throwing the ball. He's going to get the volume. And when you look at Matt Ryan, he throws the ball more than Big Ben sometimes. He, in fact, did that last year. Going to pull it up here based on attempts. Matt Ryan threw it 626 times. Mind you, 26 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. I stand corrected there. So Matt Ryan is going to continue to throw that ball, and he's going to continue to have that rapport with Julio Jones, who should come back healthy. That main reason I bought this Falcons hat is because of the fact that I'm a big Julio Jones fan. So I've got Julio Jones. I think this is crazy. Going back to that Godwin analogy, Godwin 2019 had a pinnacle year. Everyone, the mainstream, copied and pasted that fact over to say Godwin is going to finish ahead of Mike Evans. Didn't happen. Godwin had a recession of a year. And again, that was even worse scenario because, again, you had Brady coming in, and I get it. This year you say, well, Joe, Ryan's got the rapport with Ridley, and I get it. But the fact of the matter is I still think Julio finished ahead of Ridley, and that's just the bottom line. Again, will I invest in him? Probably Julio, if I can get him for value, currently sitting number 12 on the consensus rankings. If I can get him in round 4, all day long, give me Julio Jones. Last year's first rounder, the year before first rounder, I'm getting him for value based on 1 year of a slip up. I'm all over that, right? So again, this is not your cookie cutter rankings here. This is thinking outside the box and projecting to where the puck is going to go. That's the mentality you got to have, okay? Julio Jones, love him. If I get him for value, sure. Not investing a super duper early pick on Calvin Ridley, knowing that there's probably a decline obviously set in play if Julio Jones is 100% healthy, which he should be, okay? Coming in number 4, never been a fan of this guy through the years because he had those nagging injuries. Has proven to me that he is a contender and a guy that continues to do well every single year. Now, last year finished 12th amongst wide receivers in PPR. Currently, right now, where is he sitting right now? The guy I'm talking about, by the way, is Keenan Allen. Currently sitting 10th on the consensus rankings. Not a surprise. I got him at number 4 because I'm a huge believer and a huge fan of Justin Herbert, and I really think there's going to be something special here this year. Now, when you look at Keenan Allen last year, another thing that I really liked about him is the target volume. That's one thing I look at when I am looking at wide receivers, is the targets. 147 targets, which put him 5th amongst wide receivers. That's there. The only thing I need to see go up is the yards, right? We need more yards. 992 is not enough. I need to see him at around 1,200 yards, and I want to see the 8 touchdowns go up, and I think that'll go up this year as we develop and we have a better Justin Herbert this year. I am super excited about Justin Herbert. I still think I can get him for value this year at quarterback. Justin Herbert finishing 9th amongst quarterbacks last year, threw the ball 595 times, which is really good, which put him 4th in volume. And again, this was his rookie year. This was the year he was kind of getting settled in. He's shown that he is elite talent. He's shown that he has that rapport with Keenan Allen. Predicated on the fact that, they don't draft another wide receiver and Allen's still the guy, there is a ton of ceiling still left for him, and hopefully I can get him for value, and I will be targeting him this year after I implement a robust RB strategy, okay? So Keenan Allen, away you go. Coming at number 3, I got to go with DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, he speaks for himself. Number 3 in targets last year. Again, targets, a huge factor in my decision-making. Will I invest in him this year? No. Again, we'll be going robust RB. But second in targets with 166 touchdowns. That should go up this year. The report should go up with Kyler Murray. I like him. I don't think there's anyone else that's going to be fighting for targets there. AJ Green's a little washed up. The other guys aren't as good as DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins has a unique way of constantly producing on a high level no matter what the quarterback or the situation. Again, is he going to succeed? Yes. Is the ceiling there? Yes, because 6 touchdowns, we need to see that to go up. Yards, 1,407, a lot of yards last year. So much so he was actually second in yards, only second to Stefan Dix. Targets are good. Yards are good. We just need to see the touchdowns go up. You could say that he hit a bit of a ceiling last year. You could say that, but he's also a very, very solid and reliable wide receiver 1. I can't really knock that, so I do like DeAndre Hopkins this year, coming at number 3 for me. Coming at number 2, again, I have to put him here, even though I will not be touching him, is Devante Adams, sitting number 1 on everyone else's list. This was a guy, I was the Devante Adams believer before Devante Adams was really a thing and the train was going, okay? I was the guy that, told you to draft him a couple years ago, again, before he had that really big breakout. So I'm a believer in Devante Adams. What I'm not a believer in is him replicating and duplicating that type of year, especially with, Aaron Rodgers having that MVP type year. I don't see that happening again. I just see that very, very rare. And I know some people are saying, well, Joe, even if he took out 8 touchdowns, he's still a top 5 receiver. I get it. I get the fact that he is a producer. I get the fact that he's awesome. I get the fact that Aaron Rodgers is great. I get it. But will I invest? No, for a couple of reasons. Number 1 is that year. What goes up must come down. Knowing there's a decline imminent, not going to do it. And knowing that I have to pay a huge, huge price to get him in the first round, I'm not going to be doing that. So predicated on those 2 facts, I'm going to stay away. Talent is there, and he could be a super viable wide receiver 1 yet again. When I'm drafting a running back in the first round, I'm going to end up avoiding Devante Adams yet again and get my value like I did last year with guys like Jefferson later, and we're going to spot out those wide receivers and get that value later, okay? And believe me, there's a ton of value at wide receivers. Guys that have fallen off the radar, I go through a list. I mean, Kenny Galladay was a wide receiver 1. You got to check out my sleeper episodes. T. Higgins is going to be huge value, who's technically sitting before pre-NFL draft as a wide receiver 1 with a healthy Burrow coming back. There's Chark. There's Robbie Anderson. I could go on and on and on about value at wide receiver. Even Thielen, who again was slated as the wide receiver 1 last year, is sitting 22nd on the consensus rankings in PPR amongst wide receivers. This guy is a wide receiver 1. He's going to get volume. He's going to get a ton of value. I can go on forever with this, but make sure you guys are subscribed as we talk about sleepers as we move on. But Devante Adams will decline. Got him on second, basically as a formality out of respect for him, but I will not be drafting him. And I'm probably not going to be drafting any of the top 10 guys that are on the consensus rankings, okay? I will probably get Julio Jones for value, but I've got him at number 5, but he's sitting at number 12. It depends. It's going to see. That's why 60 rounds is so much better than just cookie cutter rankings. You got to get it, guys. Link below or thefantasyfootballcouch.com. Head on over. And number 1 here, I got to go with him simply for the fact that I still think there's more ceiling left. The guy I'm talking about is Stefan Dix. He is hungry. He is talented. This is the guy that I believe, when was it? The playoff game he stayed after while the other team celebrated. I can't remember what game it was, but the fact of the matter is we know he's hungry. We know Josh Allen is ultra elite. We got a good combination here. We know that he's the number 1 target getter there. We know that he was the number 1 guy in targets in amongst wide receivers last year with 166. You can't ignore that. 127 receptions. So when you look at his receptions, that puts him number 1. Number 1 in receptions and targets. Well, you say, well, Joe, that's a pinnacle year in the ceiling. Possibly, but I only think his rapport gets better with Josh Allen. Not to mention, he only had 8 touchdowns. When you compare him to guys like Devante Adams with the 18 touchdowns, or Tyreek Hill with the 15 touchdowns, even DK Metcalf and Lockett had 10 apiece. 8 touchdowns. There's so much more room to grow there. I still think he maintains the target level and the yardage and increases on his touchdowns and the rapport with Josh Allen. So again, is he going to be a guy I'm going to draft? Probably not. Currently sitting number 3 on the wide receiver rankings, but a guy that I think could easily finish number 1 amongst wide receivers based on talent, opportunity, volume, and everything else in the situation with Stefan Diggs. Absolutely love him. So when you are looking at a wide receiver 1, I think that, what goes up must come down. You're almost tempted to take Diggs over Adams, but again, I'm avoiding that and going robust RB. Very simple. Recap the pre-NFL draft top 10 rankings amongst wide receivers: Jefferson, Deontay, DK Metcalf, Tyreek Hill, Michael Thomas, Julio Jones, Keenan Allen, DeAndre Hopkins, Devante Adams, and Stefan Diggs. And trust me, there's a lot of guys that cracked the top 10 that I think that I kind of left out, including maybe Calvin Ridley, A.J. Brown, Allen Robinson, Terry McLaurin, Chris Godwin could be in there, but again, there's a lot of volume and a lot of spreading of the ball. Kenny Galladay, Deontay Johnson, I've already got him. T. Higgins could crack the top 10 there. There's so many other guys, I'm telling you, but then you can get them up for value. They don't really need to be in the top 10 anyway, because you can get them for value, and that's what 16 rounds is going to help you with. All right? Smash a thumbs up. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Interact. Make it interactive. Let me know. Who did I miss? Who do you like? What are your thoughts? And of course, get the 60-round draft solution. And again, don't fall for that Michael Thomas drama that happened last year. What goes up must come down. Again, everyone went crazy. Michael Thomas, pinnacle year, drafted him, busted, right? It's going to happen every single year, guys. When you finish on top, there's a decline happening. And when you're on the bottom, there's a chance you could emerge back up. Guys like Thielen, guys like Julio Jones, who were wide receiver 1s, cannot be ignored. And you can get them for super good value this year, okay? I know this is making a lot of sense, guys. I know it is, right? You got to think outside the box. That's how you win. I'm the only one in the industry doing it on the #1 Fantasy Football podcast here, and #1 Instagram page at Fantasy Football Counselor. Follow, subscribe, and get 16 rounds right now. Go take action to dominate your league for this year and embarrass your friends in your leagues. I'm excited. Subscribe, thumbs up. I'm out.